What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the HG Sports Podcast. I know. It's been like 2.5 weeks. It's been a long break. And I didn't let you guys know that I was going to go on a break. Basically, a couple weeks ago, I was planning on putting out a video. I recorded it, and I didn't like the quality of video that I was putting out. So I scrapped it, and I went to go try to rewrite it and re-record it. But at that point, it was a little too late. Then Christmas came around the corner, and I said, okay, well, I'm not going to do a video this week because when you axe out 2 days of writing, then, again, not as good quality. Basically, I'm going to be releasing videos on Thursdays and Fridays at this point, either Thursday nights, Friday mornings, somewhere around that point. I know we're getting close to the end of the season anyways. So at that point, you're going to get more of, obviously no game recaps or anything like that. You're going to get more of draft boards and free agent previews, stuff like that. So that'll be a little spontaneous. But when it comes to the seasonal stuff and the playoffs, you're going to be getting videos on Thursday night, Friday mornings-ish, around there. And then next, I want to thank everybody for the support on my YouTube channel. And especially on the last video, you guys have been killing it. I think I have over 70 views on that one, which is way over my channel average. You guys seem to really like that last podcast episode. So hopefully, again, I want to make sure I can make the best quality of video that I can for you guys. And if you're curious on how to support me, subscribe, number one, like the video. And if you really want to support me, sharing the video gets it more exposure, gets more eyes on it, and more clicks. So if you guys want to support me, that's the best way to do it. Now let's get into it. I know I have said in previous weeks that I'm not going to be really doing any previews, but since I have been taking off the past 2.5 week-ish, I am doing full wildcard previews for the playoffs. So that means the Bills and Texans, Titans, Patriots, Vikings, Saints, and Seahawks, Eagles. And we're just going to jump right into it. We're going to start off with the Bills and Texans. And basically how this is going to work, just so you know how this is going to work, I'm going to start off with the preview, and then I'm going to give you who I think is going to win and why they will win. The first matchup from Saturday is the Buffalo Bills versus the Houston Texans, who will be playing in Houston since the Texans are the higher seed, even though they have they have the equal record. Texans won their division, so that's why they're playing in Houston. And even though they are the higher seed, technically, I do believe that the Buffalo Bills are going to win this game, and let me tell you why. Starting off with the offense, the Buffalo Bills are a run-heavy offense running an EP system. If you don't know what an EP system is, it's much like the Air Coryell or the West Coast offenses or systems. It's not really based on a method of attack like most people think. Like Air Coryell, you think of deep passes down the field, while the West Coast, you think of short, methodical passes to sustain a drive. But it's really not that at all. Simply put, it's a language. So the EP system specifically, it's a method of conceptualizing the plays in a streamlined manner so that the offensive players are able to memorize the plays easily. Simply put, once again, I know that kind of sounded like a different language there. Simply put, it in turn allows the Buffalo Bills offense to go up tempo if they want to. The less words that the quarterback has to use to convey the play to the players, the quicker the ball can be snapped. This system originated in New England with the Patriots, so they use it a lot, and they use it with a pass-heavy offense, and then with the Bills, they do it run-heavy. So like I said, it's a system. It's not really an offense in how they play. Like I said, they are a run-heavy offense, and the Houston Texans defense is ranked in the bottom 8 in the league when it comes to the run, giving up a whopping 4.8 yards per attempt. If they decide to sell out for the run and decide to stack the box with 8 men, they really won't fare much better because they're bottom 4 in passing defense. Their top 2 corners, Jonathan Joseph and Bradley Roby, respectively, are being ranked the 31st and 42nd ranked corners this season. So the key for this offense is really be getting not really the running backs going. I think is getting Josh Allen as many opportunities to use his legs as possible. He did lead all quarterbacks in touchdown runs with 10, and I think the next, oh no, it was 9. I'm sorry, it was 9, and then Lamar Jackson and a couple other quarterbacks had 7. Whether it's designed runs, read options, or it's him just tucking and running with the ball on his own accord, his own decisions. He has to get his legs going to put the defense on their heels. Even with me stating the keys for the offense, I really think the real factors of this game will come down to the Buffalo Bills defense and their special teams. So let's talk about that. The Buffalo Bills defense is ranked 3rd in the league, only behind New England and San Francisco, top 10 in passing and rushing defense. They play a 4-3 defense with a top-down philosophy, which basically means that they structure their play calling and their defensive rules around not giving up big plays. That's why it's not really surprising why Buffalo Bills have permitted a league low of 32 plays of 20 yards or more all season, an average of just 2 per game. The league average, if you're curious, is just shy of 50. So the Houston Texans are ranked 9th in the league when it comes to the big playability. When going against team in the top 10 of stopping the big playability, the Buffalo Bills are 5-2, with the 2 losses being against the New England Patriots, who led the league with this big playability with 74 in the 2019 season. The Buffalo Bills are known for running a more zone coverages in their 4-3 defense more than anything else, but they are still incredibly good at man-to-man coverage. And if the Texans do decide to use the shorter bubble screens and the read options and the short action kind of plays that they do like to use with their spread offense, then they can switch to man to be able to stop them. So I think to start off the game in zone like you normally do and then make the adjustments on the fly, I think that's really the key for the defense. And making the adjustments on the fly kind of comes down to the coaching too. And lastly and shortly, I kind of just want to bring up the Bills special teams. I've talked about it in my podcast before, how good they are on special teams. But Buffalo's field goal defense was the best in the league this season. In a year where the average NFL field goal defense allowed a success rate of just over 81%, the Bills' opponents struggled a lot putting the kicks between the uprights, making just over 63%, 63.6% if you want to get specific. It could play a big factor in this game if it comes down to the wire. I don't think it will come down to a field goal. I think the final score of this game will be 24-17. Bills win and move on to the divisional round. And for each one of these games, you guys, let me know your predictions. Let me know your score predictions, who's going to win, and then give me your playoff look. How is it going to look afterwards for the divisional round? Because I'm curious on what you guys think too. We can have a comment. We can have a discussion down in the comment section below. And then next, it's the night game for Saturday. It's the Tennessee Titans versus the New England Patriots. They will be playing in Foxborough right now. It says, I have it where it says it should just be raining, no snow or nothing like that. So I am picking the New England Patriots here. And let's talk about the defense first. It's the number 1 defense in the league. I mean, we all know that. The defense is ranked in top 10 in every single defensive category, including points, yards, passing completions, passing touchdowns, rushing yards, rushing touchdowns, total touchdowns, red zone attempts, red zone touchdowns, first downs, third and fourth down conversions, and sacks. I mean, and the only thing that's not is interceptions, and they're ranked 11th, I believe. Anyone's going to really have a tough time moving the ball against this defense, and that's the case all year. The Titans are ranked the 10th best overall offense, with the running game carrying most of this offense, with Derrick Henry, of course, claiming the rushing title in 2019. And with the weather being so rainy, the Titans will be leaning on the run even more than usual, but the Patriots are so good on the run, I'm not sure that Derrick Henry will be very effective. Again, Derrick Henry is very good. He claimed the rushing title, but this defense is so incredibly impressive that I don't know if he will be able to do much against this defense. I think it's a coin toss. When the Titans face up against the top 10 run defense, they're 3-3 on the season. And when the Patriots face a top 10 run offense, they are ranked. They've gone 3-2. So I think that the weather will be a factor. They can load up the blocks more because of how the Titans will play. So I'm going to give the edge to the Patriots a little more. The record shows that they're a little better than the Titans, and obviously their defense has shown improved itself to be incredibly good. Next, let's discuss the Patriots' offense. They're a balanced offense with a stronger emphasis on the passing the ball. They play that same EP system I mentioned earlier. They will be up against the 24th ranked passing defense, but the Patriots are playing in the same conditions that the Titans are playing in, so they will rely also on the run more. Where the Titans are ranked 12th in the league and the Patriots' run offense is ranked 18th. As you can see with the rain conditions, it really comes down to the smallest things. Really becomes a game of inches that will be played mainly on the defensive side of the ball. But the Patriots have a weapon that no one else has. It's Bill Belichick, and Bill will find a way to design plays to outfit the Patriots for a win. Whether it'll be quick passes like Tom Brady and these guys are good at doing, or it's pounding the rock, they will find a way. And last thing, I've already kind of mentioned it, is the coaching. Bill Belichick has the obvious upper hand in the situation. Bill has coached 42 playoff games, while Mike Vrabel, he is the coach for the Tennessee Titans, has no playoff experience. I think this is the ultimate factor right here for this game, and will end up being the thing that wins the game for the Patriots. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. Final score is 17-13. Patriots will come out on top. And I don't think that them playing in the wild card for the first time in, 10 years, I don't think it's going to be a factor. I think they're going to go in there, they're going to handle their business, and they're going to go home. And next, we are looking at the We're looking at the Vikings versus Saints. This is the morning matchup on Sunday that will be played in New Orleans. And I do believe that this is going to be one of the only games in the playoffs, well, in the wild card at least, that will be a domination. And it's going to be the Saints. The Saints are going to dominate this game and come out with the W. And I'm going to tell you the number one reason why. I don't believe in the Minnesota Vikings at all. I know the record says 10-6 for the Minnesota Vikings, but if you look deeper into who they've played and who they've beaten in the regular season, it's really not too impressive to me at least. The teams they've beaten outside of their division, okay, because I think for me, divisional games are special. Anybody can beat anybody on any given Sunday, of course, but it amplifies it to 1,000 when it comes to divisional games. Obviously, we saw it last week. The Dolphins beat the Patriots. It happens. So outside of their division, the teams that they've beat is Falcons, Raiders, Giants, Eagles, Redskins, Cowboys, Broncos, and Chargers. One of those teams are a playoff team, the Eagles, who aren't very good, really, either. I think they're not too good at all. All those teams have a combined record of 48 wins and 78 losses. So you see the names and you see who they are, but to really put it in perspective of numbers of saying 48 and 78 kind of shows you why I don't really believe in them. The quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings, Kirk Cousins, is really bad against winning teams. He has posted a record of 7-30 when up against those types of teams, winning teams. He also lacks the experience in the playoffs, only starting one playoff game in 2015 when he was on the Washington Redskins. They lost that game. The Minnesota Vikings do rank as the 6th best rushing offense in the league, but the Saints ranked as the 4th best. Now, the Saints do have some crucial injuries on the defensive line in the past couple of weeks, especially, including Marcus Davenport and Sheldon Rankins, but only if they could play like they did in Week 16, so 2 weeks ago against the Panthers, where they only allowed 41 rushing yards to Christian McCaffrey and the offense as a whole. Then if they do that, the Vikings will have to try and rely on Kirk Cousins, and they will have to rely on him to get the job done. We all know the story of Kirk Cousins and prime time and stuff in Monday Night Football, and and I don't really think of playoff games I do think of them as primetime games. Everybody's watching them. Everyone has their eyes on them. They're not very good. Okay, he's not very good. Specifically, I don't think he could get the job done. I don't believe in the Minnesota Vikings because of Kirk Cousins because of who they've played. Yes, he's been very impressive this season when you look at the numbers and you look at who they've played. But as a whole, I still don't believe in them. I don't. I not at all. Not even a little bit. Next, I want to talk about Drew Brees and this explosive offense. Drew Brees coming into this playoff game has been as hot, if not hotter, than any other quarterback in the league, posting 22 touchdowns to 1 interception in the past 6 games. Over the last 6 games, they have scored an average of 35 points per game, and the only game that they lost was to the 49ers, who are the number 1 seed, and they only lost by a field goal in the final seconds. Which, yes, they did let George Kittle absolutely maul them, and, he carried about 3 guys on his back. So, but yes, 22-1, 35 points a game, only 1 loss, so they went 5-1 over the past 6 games. They've been absolutely crushing it. Okay, Michael Thomas and this wide receiver core will face off against a defense that ranks 15th in the league against the pass. Most of those receiving yards go to wide receivers as they rank in the bottom 7 in the league when it comes to yards earned by a wideout. So basically saying, if you didn't understand that, the defense as a whole, they rank 15th. But when it comes to the receiving yards they allow to certain positions, they allow the most to the wide receivers, and they rank in the bottom 7 in the league when it comes to that. The Vikings defense can usually get after the quarterback as they rank in the top 5 in sacks, but really you shouldn't really expect the same this Sunday, as the Saints are number 1 in run blocking, and they are number 3 in the pass protection, only giving up a total of 25 sacks this season. And if you're curious on what the league average is, it's 40. So they've given up 25 sacks. League average is 40. That's why you shouldn't really expect the same. And lastly, I want to talk about the playoff experience just shortly. The Saints, since Drew Brees has taken over for the quarterback for New Orleans since 2006, if you're curious on when that was, they have not lost a game at home in the playoffs. Don't expect any different. Expect a blowout. That's the one thing you can expect. Saints will win this game 38-20. Don't think it's going to be anywhere close. And the last game that we are going to be previewing is the last game of the wild card matchups. This game is going to be played in Philly. Seahawks versus Eagles. I think the Eagles will barely come out on top on this one. And if I'm honest with you guys, which I know I like to be honest with you guys, I'm still teetering back and forth on this one. My opinion has changed day to day. I started writing this section yesterday. I started writing this yesterday. I typed it out and I said, okay, yeah, let's see. The Seahawks are going to win. Seahawks are going to win. And then I started to type everything out and I started to look everything. I had about 10, 15 tabs open, looking at everyone's stats, looking at film. And I was like, I think Philly's going to win. And it pains me to say that. I hate Philly. I don't like Philly. And there's not a lot of teams that I don't like. Philly's one of those teams I really don't like at all. But I do think that they will barely come out on top on this one. It is the rematch from Week 12. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple things. The running game is going to be the biggest factor in this game. The first matchup between these two in late November, Rashad Penny and Chris Carson, the running backs for the Seattle Seahawks, combined for a total of 155 yards on 22 carries. This time around, they have Marshawn Lynch and Travis Homer because Rashad Penny, Chris Carson, even their third stringer, CJ Prosise, they're all out. They're done for the season. So last week, they combined for a total of 96 yards on 22 carries against the 49ers, who are ranked 17th on the run. The Eagles, they're ranked 3rd. So 14 spots higher. 14 spots higher. Almost didn't know how to do math right there. If the Eagles can stop the run without loading the box, they can really focus on the weak points of their defense, the secondary. That's their weakest point in my opinion. That's what the numbers say. That's what the film says. That's their weakest point on the defense. On the flip side of the ball, the Eagles have the opportunity to establish the run early. The Arizona Cardinals and the Eagles are ranked 10th and 11th in rushing, so right next to each other in rushing this season. If you don't remember 2 weeks ago, you're probably saying, why are you bringing it up? Why are you bringing up the Cardinals? 2 weeks ago, the Cardinals rushed for over 250 yards in the game against the Seattle Seahawks. If they can get the Seahawks to commit another man in the box and for the run, it can open up the game for Carson Wentz in this offense. Speaking of the offense, let's talk about the matchups for the Eagles' offense this game. With the Eagles being so banged up this year, including Alshon Jeffrey being out, we know obviously Deshaun Jackson's been out since the beginning. Nelson Aguilar, Zach Ertz might not play. Jordan Mailata, he's a lineman. He's a starting lineman for the Eagles. And even Lane Johnson is questionable to play. They are going to continue to rely on the likes of Dallas Goedert, Joshua Perkins, the tight ends for the Philadelphia Eagles, the backups, I should say. Luckily for the Eagles, the Seattle Seahawks are the second worst in the league when it comes to defending the pass against the tight end. Also going in favor for Philly is the fact that the Seahawks are third worst in the league in the pass defense against running backs. And like I was saying before, with all the injuries happening to the Eagles, they have to rely heavy on other positions. Like the running backs, they have become one of those other positions. Over the final 4 games of the season, Eagles running backs have averaged 87 yards and 10 receptions through the air. The last thing to look at in this game is the offensive line. Even with the 2 starters potentially going to miss the game, I do believe that the Eagles do have a slight leg up on them. They rank middle of the pack this season when it comes to protecting the quarterback. But I still do think they have a leg up because when it comes to that, every significant defensive stat in the NFL, the Seahawks rank bottom 5 when it comes to rushing the passer. I don't think that this defense as a whole is very good. And that's the last thing we're going to be talking about. As you can see while going over the matchups, and honestly this whole matchup as a whole, the biggest factor for me is the defense. It's bad. Really, really bad. Bottom 6 in the league bad. I know I didn't put out an episode for a couple of weeks, but a couple of weeks ago, like I said, I recorded one, didn't like the overall quality of the video. In that video, I reviewed the Seahawks and Panthers game. So obviously I'm not going to put that video out, but I'm going to give you a little sneak peek because here's my notes on that. Keep in mind, Panthers are out of the playoffs and their offense ranks 20th in the league. Here's my notes on that. The Carolina Panthers quarterback Kyle Allen completed 25 passes. Less than 4 of those passes were beyond 10 yards. So that tells me that the defense should have stepped up and made adjustments, but they did not. Next, the defense has one man to worry about. So I'm talking about right here, the Seattle Seahawks defense has one man to worry about. Christian McCaffrey. And time again, they let him make plays on the football field. I really worry about this defense heading into the playoffs, hoping they don't play an elite offense playing like this. The Eagles offense, they're ranked almost top 10. They're ranked 11th. And here's more of my notes. Next thing I want to talk about in this game is the fact that if the Carolina Panthers started off in the game by getting their stuff together from the start, they would have won this game. In the beginning of the game, the Panthers' play calling was subpar, repetitive, and allowing the Seahawks to jump out to an early lead and never letting go. By the time Kyle Allen was stopped, by the time Kyle Allen stopped turning the ball over and the play calling stepped up, it was too late, and they were banking on the chance that their defense would get a stop. So, as you can see here, I saw the flaws a couple of weeks ago and how bad this defense was. And I think we're going to see the Eagles come out on top because of this. They are my key factor of the game. Eagles win 24-21, and they move on to the divisional, unfortunately. Which, again, pains me to say that. So, how my playoff picture would look, starting with the AFC. I said that the Bills would win, and I said that the Patriots would win. So that would be the Patriots against the Chiefs in the divisional round, and that would be the Bills against the Baltimore Ravens, also in the divisional round, and I'll go over those games next week. However it turns out, if I'm right, I'm right. I'll go over them. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. It's not that big of a deal. And then on the NFC side, the Saints will go against the Green Bay Packers, and the 49ers will be going against the Philadelphia Eagles. That's how my playoff bracket looks right now. If I'm right, I'll go over those games next week. Like I said, if not a big deal. I'll go over whatever you guys want me to go over. And then I will recap a couple of those games. Whatever 2 games are exciting for those ones, I'll recap those 2, and I'll preview all the games next week because it is playoffs. And then moving on, I'm not going to just end it on that one for you guys. I'm going to give you your weekly news roundup. I'm only going to give you guys 3 stories, though, this week. A lot of coaching firings. So it was getting a little repetitive. I typed out a couple coach firings, but it was getting a little repetitive because it was like, oh, these guys fired these guys fired these guys. So I'm just going to go over a couple of recent ones. The Redskins hire Ron Rivera. So it's a hiring. Hire Ron Rivera for head coach and Jack Del Rio for the defensive coordinator position. And I really want to go over just briefly what this means for Dwayne Haskins and the Redskins offense. Right now, Ron Rivera has interest in keeping Kevin O'Connell for the offensive coordinator position because he was impressed with the work and progress he made with Dwayne Haskins throughout the season. And I will say, I haven't really watched too much film on Dwayne Haskins. I watched a game and a half on him. But I do know that when a young quarterback, especially a young quarterback, any quarterback really, but a young quarterback especially, has the same playbook multiple years in a row, they are more successful. The same coaches, the same playbook, the same system, more success most of the time if they're for the development. They reach their peak faster. So they know whether or not Dwayne Haskins is going to be a good quarterback in the future. I think the best way to look at that is Derek Carr. You know, when Derek Carr has had multiple like the same coordinator playbook system in a row, he's played pretty well in that second year. Hence his MVP like season before he broke his leg a couple of years ago. He played pretty well for 3/4 of the season. This year, I think the whole team kind of fell apart. I don't think that's too much on him. I think that goes to more of the whole team, but I think he's a pretty good example. And then next with the defense, the Washington Redskins defense was ranked 27th overall, so bottom 5 in the league. And Jack Del Rio will be looking really to fix that. Last time Jack Del Rio was a defensive coordinator, not a head coach, but a defensive coordinator. He coached in the, the Denver Broncos in 2012, 13, and 14, where the overall defense looked like 2nd, 19th, and 3rd in the league in those years. The 19th overall is obviously not a good look. It's kind of a glaring, like, ugh, that doesn't look good. But if he can take the Redskins from 27th to 19, it's still a big improvement, and I think the Redskins would be very happy with that in a 1-year jump. How big of a jump, I'm not sure. And I did see something kind of cool when Jack Del Rio was coaching for the Panthers. He drafted his first year, he got hired, and then number 2 overall, he drafted Julius Peppers. We know how good Julius Peppers is, obviously. Then he started coaching for the Denver Broncos, and then he drafted Von Miller, number 2. Well, can you guess what pick that they have this year? The number 2 overall pick, the Washington Redskins have, and good chance that they could possibly pick up Chase Young. So possibly another really, really good elite defensive lineman, and I think that could be a pretty good way to go. Have Montez Sweat and Chase Young on the edges for you, 2 really, really good young guys, potentially. Who knows how it'll really go, but just want to go over that. And lastly, just the future as a whole. I still believe, and I will say, I think that with Dan Snyder in the office of the Washington Redskins, I feel like I keep getting caught up on Washington Redskins. That name, Washington Redskins. I feel like I'm saying Washington. Anyways, I still believe that Dan Snyder, with him in the office of the Washington Redskins, they will never be a successful franchise ever. They won't. I think that they're always going to suck. They're going to have burst years where they're pretty good, but outside of that, I don't think they'll be a successful franchise with him in there. And number 2, let's go over the Bears firing pretty much every offensive coach. So let's go over the coaches. They fired offensive coordinator Mark Helfrich, offensive line coach Harry Heinstand, tight ends coach Kevin Gilbride, and assistant special teams coach Brock Olivio. Why does everyone have to have hard last names? I don't know. Go ask them. So yeah, you could see that they've damn near cleaned house as much as you can without actually cleaning house. I think this is a good move, except for the fact that Matt Nagy has a job. If you're going to fire everyone responsible for the regression of Mitchell Trubisky, then make sure you fire everybody responsible for the regression of Mitchell Trubisky, especially for the guy who's calling the plays during the games. I'm not saying Mitchell Trubisky's really good, and if he had a different team or different coach, he'd be even better. But he did look decent last year. But obviously, you could see, when you have an elite defense like that he had last year, obviously you're going to be looked at a lot better. But I have looked at his numbers beforehand, and I've looked at his tape. He's a very, very boring guy to watch. The offense in general is very boring. So that could be it. It could be just it's a boring offense and it's the play calling, and it does fall on Matt Nagy. And his numbers from year 1 to year 2 jumped, and then year 2 to year 3 dropped almost back to the exact positions. It's kind of weird. It's kind of freaky. It's almost the exact positions. Super weird. But I do think that the blame falls on Nagy more than anyone else because he's calling the plays of the game, and the offensive coordinator he's the fall guy for it. He lost his job for possibly someone else's incompetence. Either it's Matt Nagy's incompetence or it's Mitchell Trubisky's incompetence. It's one of the two. And I do agree with the offensive line coach firing. The line was in the bottom half of the league when it comes to run blocking and pass blocking. And it seems that they're giving the quarterback and Nagy one more year of improvement. New coaches to help Mitch. I'm guessing probably more offensive linemen will be the priority in the draft and free agency. And if they can't get it done next season, they'll probably be replaced next year too. And that is it for the coaches. And the last thing I want to kind of talk about is the head coach for the Bucs, Bruce Arians, says that they can win football games with or without Jameis Winston. Doesn't really make a difference. So I kind of want to talk about what they should do with him next year. And right now, they're expecting to bring him back next season. That was a story a couple weeks back. But they're unsure right now whether it'll be a long-term deal or if he will just be franchise tagged. To me, Jameis Winston's really hard to judge because he has new career highs in yards, over 5,000. It's incredible. And touchdowns, 30. I mean, he's second all-time in touchdown passes thrown in the first 5 years of someone's career. The only person he's behind is Peyton Manning. It's expected of Jameis to put up these crazy numbers. Obviously, these are new highs, so maybe not this crazy. But it's the same story. He turns the ball over too many times. We've seen the memes at this point, the 30 for 30 memes. He's thrown 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions. He's the ESPN 30 for 30 guy. With him leading the league in interceptions, he's only led them to one winning season, 2016. He puts up great numbers, turns the ball over, which shortens the time of possession for the offense, the number of possessions for the offense, and there's only so much that the Bucs defense can do coming onto a field with the opposing offense being in a really good field position because he keeps giving the ball away. And for me personally, I would understand any decision that the front office wanted to make if they wanted to sign him to a long-term deal. I'm like, okay, I can see it. I don't think he'll ever improve on it because the man likes to stare down his primary receiver a lot. And a lot of the interceptions this year were really bad. But at the same time, it's the numbers and it's the touchdowns and it's the potential winning. It's the potential. But the dude's been in the league for 5 years now, and I don't know. But I would understand any decision the front office would want to make. Okay, that's it, you guys. That's my podcast episode, my first podcast episode of the year. Again, I want to apologize for not having an episode for a couple weeks and you guys being so awesome and supporting the last video like crazy. Over 70 views. That's super awesome for me. If you guys want to help me out, hit the subscribe button, like the video, and if you really, really want to be awesome, then share the video around to get it more exposure. That's all I have for you guys this week. I will see you next week. Peace.